And welcome to the Security Guy and CIA Spy Pod broadcast. I am Robert Siciliano, and this is
Peter Warmka from Orlando, enjoying probably cooler weather than what you got up in Boston right now.
Yeah, that's a change, huh? Yeah, it is. It's been 90 plus degrees here for the past couple of days, and it is hot.
Well, hopefully it's going to be very temporary. Hopefully.
Yeah, we should be good. Peter, good news.
Yes,
check this out. Right? Look at this. Hold on. Where is it? Wait a minute. How did I lose it? Hold on. Oh, there it is. We are, you and I, FeedSpot listed us as one of the 30 best CIA podcasts.
Awesome. That's something to celebrate.
Yeah. We are right alongside the President's Day Brief and the Langley Files. You know Langley.
Of
right?
course.
Mike Force, Intelligence Matters, Brainwash, Covert Action Bulletin. That's enough out of you. 2 mics. We are actually 29 of 30. Hey, I'm fine with that.
That's great. And especially there's a lot more, podcasts that are out there that touch upon the CIA and intelligence. And a lot of them aren't a lot of them are sort of like this, tell me mysterious stories, kind of like for entertainment, but they're not really based upon sharing information or facts or something that's really true. But apparently that gives us a lot of credibility. I'm very happy.
Yeah, man, we did good, right? We just keep the motor running, right?
Yeah, and maybe get our people that come in to watch us, listen to us, to share that with their friends and bring more people into the fold.
Yeah. So, both Peter and I, obviously, as most of you should know, we speak professionally. We train on cybersecurity awareness training and of scam fraud awareness training and so forth. And, we're just being inundated with requests revolving around artificial intelligence, deep fakes, disinformation. Okay. And so the topic of today's event is going to be disinformation. And Peter, check this out, right? So back in 2019, prior to the 2020 election, I wrote an entire article about disinformation, i.e. fake news, how the weaponization of social media has you conned.
Okay? It does.
Now, this article was written well before deep fakes and AI was integrated into the public consciousness. So really, prior to it even being a tool that you and I could readily, utilize. Okay. And so there's a couple of things from my 2019 post that are just so fundamental that I wanted to get across here. So back then, with the 2016 election, the Cambridge Analytica debacle that occurred via Facebook, where Facebook provided Cambridge Analytica essentially backdoor access to their service in such a way where Cambridge Analytica manipulated all of us to sway the election in essentially Trump's favor. Okay. And, that is happening right now as we speak in a number of different ways. It's been happening for a long time. And so essentially what disinformation is, it is a confidence trick. Fundamentally, disinformation is a confidence trick or scam. The motivation of a con man or a group is to influence their mark enough to gain the confidence of the victim. The con man wants to be trusted. Once the con man has the trust of their target, it's like taking candy from a baby. So disinformation is about, dividing and conquering. So hear me out, okay? The desired outcome of disinformation by its author is to divide and conquer or rule the persons who are being manipulated. The Oxford definition of divide and conquer is the policy of maintaining control over one's subordinates or subjects by encouraging dissent between them. So right down the middle. In other words, from the perspective and motivation of the con man, don't trust them, trust me. Only I can solve your problems. We hear that over and over and over and over again these days from certain politicians. Okay.
Mhm.
So that divide and conquer, don't trust them, trust me, is being played out every single day in our current political climate. And I wrote this back in 2019, and it's more true today than it's ever been. And I don't know this, Peter. Disinformation, i.e., desinformatia,
Mhm.
is fundamentally lying. It is the word was born in Russia, desinformatia. Joseph Stalin coined the term in 1923, derived from the title of the KGB Black Propaganda Special Disinformation Office. They had a disinformation office, a department. Disinformation was formally defined in the Great Soviet Encyclopedia in 1952 as false information with the intention to deceive public opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, and it's been running hard. I mean, that was back in the times of the Soviet Union, but when the Soviet Union broke up, Russia has maintained that same program. It's been very, very aggressive. Even to this day, active measure. They call it active measures as well, right? I think I mentioned and actually I have a copy here. There's a really good book for anybody that's interested in the topic. Sorry about that. Here's the book. I wrote it, and I read it. I didn't write it. I read it. It's by Thomas Rid, and it goes into considerable detail of that program, first established by the Soviet Republic, the Soviet Union, and then maintained by the KGB after the breakup of the Soviet Union.
Nice job, Peter. When did you put that together?
No, I didn't. No, what? I didn't put this together. I didn't write this. This is.
I'm sorry. So now, where can people get that?
Well, no, they can order it on Amazon, but this is like one of the best books I found that talks specifically about that program that Russia had, and it goes up pretty much until the elections of 2016. That's where the book kind of like tapers off the information, but there's been a lot of things that have happened since 2016 as well, including there's some things right now that are going on that are coming out. A lot of these programs, are going on without us really being aware that they're going on or who's behind them. But there's some that can be directly linked to state actors, especially Russia is probably the predominant state actor, but there's also China's very involved, Iran's very involved, Israel. Israel right now with the whole, conflict in Gaza, they're involved in these sorts of things. So it's going on around us, but we need to understand what it might look like, what is it trying to do to us, and how can we potentially, identify that it's going on and what we can do about it.
The biggest problem here is the fact that, Peter, we've discussed this before. So, my philosophy, my observation, my perspective is that human beings, by default, when we come out of our mama, we trust by our nature. Okay. And if you trust by nature, if you naturally trust, if you want to and need to, and by default trust others, that means that you pretty much give pretty much everyone in every situation you're in the benefit of the doubt. That you're pretty much going to trust first. And if things are sour and things don't feel right, then you're like, well, maybe not. But you still give the benefit of the doubt, and that's a huge problem. So whatever, go ahead.
And what that issue of trust, that's where the whole, a lot of this AI, generative AI comes into play, because just put a news story in front of you, and and then put that the headline that can grab attention, right? Sometimes a headline is all you need to get someone to read that, but then you add to that an image, right? And you add to that a video, and people are more likely to see that and actually engage with it, because today, everything's about images and video, and as we know, those can be fake, deepfaked, and so it's very easy, to leverage that trust, because people believe automatically. Oh, that's got to be true. I see it. Seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. Unfortunately, that's not the case.
Yeah, we have grown accustomed to consuming the printed word, to consuming audio, to consuming video throughout our entire lives, and we've come to trust all these mediums as they are legit. And the reality of it is, like, despite what your politics are, ladies and gentlemen, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNN, MSNBC, CNBC, even to a certain degree, Fox News, they're pretty much telling the truth with the exception of their slant and or their propaganda.
Yeah, so it's like bias. They're telling you the truth, but they're putting a particular spin or bias to that news, right?
Some more significant bias than others. Some are skewing the truth just a little bit more than others, but it's not necessarily fake news. It's based.
They can be called to task. I mean, typically your traditional professional news outlets, they could be they got to fact check up the wazoo when they get this news, because if they put something out there that they just somebody posted something on Facebook and is breaking news, and if they use that, they got to be very, very careful, and they have to, even if you might see them coming out later, that if something is incorrect or misleading, they correct that because it's their reputation. But what percentage of news today does not come from professional broadcasters?
Way too much.
Yeah,
everybody with a connection to the internet is a broadcaster now.
That's right. So we produce our own. We produce our own content, right? We produce it and we disseminate it, and then others will take it and they will further disseminate it, even if they might not realize that is fake, but they're spreading misinformation because they're spreading information that's not true, but it's not disinformation because they didn't know that it's false. But it's still adding to the spread of information that should never be out there.
So I don't spend a whole lot of time on Facebook or social media for that matter, due to the fact that you just get sucked into this awful vortex, and before you know it, like you went on to find something really quick, and then 3 hours later you're like watching cat videos, and it's like I just can't. I just don't have the time for that. But every single time I pull up anything on Facebook, inevitably, if I spend even 5 minutes on there, I usually see a post or two that no, there's something wrong with that. Like whoever's sharing that, they're misinformed. Like they probably don't know what it is that they are sharing. That they just took these words that appeared, they took this video, they took whatever it is that they are consuming, and they go, oh, everybody else should know about this. In reality, what they're sharing is wrong. It's disinformation. It's either an outright lie, it's a scam, or it's just some BS. Like my wife shared something with me just yesterday, as a matter of fact, that like we have to stop using certain types of dishwasher pods in our dishwasher because plumbers are saying it's clogging up all the pipes and you have to go in with special tools and unclog them. It's like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. So let me just Google it. And I Googled it. I was like, nah, that's not true at all. Like, it's just like somebody shared it and it's just not true. Whether somebody got screwed over by their plumber 5 years ago and their post went viral or not, I don't know. It's just like this dumb thing that's not true. But that at a higher level, government, safety, security, privacy, money, like, beyond plumbing, that stuff has impact on the quality of people's lives, which includes their safety, security, and privacy.
Yeah. I mean, I think we need to take a higher, view of this as far as and there's a variety of them, who are the different threat actors that are out there and that can intentionally produce and disseminate disinformation, and what might be their objectives. I mean, the first number one is going to be the state actors, right? And they've been doing this for ages.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier, it's pretty much to not to create a division, but to enter into a division and to go in there and to further create that divide within that division. I think a good example of that probably in very, very recent times were all these protests that were going on regarding Black Lives Matter. And so there were at least two sides to this, right? Maybe more. But I mean, so the purpose of those articles is to say, well, should we have a program where we're going to take one side or the other? They don't necessarily have to take one side or the other. They could produce disinformation that would appear to support the Black Lives Matter movement, and then at the same time create some other type of information that would appear to attack it or to look, to be from the other side. And at the end of the day, they're just further and further creating a divide within the American public, which is, if you're trying to weaken a democracy, and that's what they're trying to do, that's a very effective way of doing it. And so they've been doing that across the board for a long time. And I think
don't trust them, trust me. Divide and conquer.
Yeah, I mean, but you have the same thing though. You have this being conducted also by businesses, competitors that will try to damage the brand of other competitors, right? Whether it's try to, damage the brand so that their company will also, try to raise up or try to sabotage the reputation of competitors. I mean, this is happening in the business world as well. People that are involved in brand marketing, brand and management are finding this happening all the time. There are activist groups that will also take advantage of disinformation campaigns to promote their causes. That happens. And there's also these people, just fraudsters. I think you alluded to that in the beginning, fraudsters that will go out there and they will try to show, especially using AI today, try to show that these gummies are the greatest thing. We have these celebrities that are even using it, but none of that is true. But they're creating that so they can make a quick buck, right? That's all, it's all part of disinformation, just different objectives.
Here, Russia targets Americans traveling to Paris Olympics with fake CIA video. Russia has ramped up its disinformatia operations targeting the Paris Olympics, this time with a new video that makes it appear it's as if the CIA is warning Americans about traveling in the city's metro, their trains. CBS News found a fabricated video which contains a fake warning about a high risk of an attack originated in Russia channels, making its way on X and Facebook, where it has racked up at least 100,000 views across the platforms. The video is a fabrication and has no connection to the CIA and does not represent the CIA's views, a CIA spokesperson told CBS News. U.S. officials have not warned Americans about traveling in the metro during the games, which are begin to set on July 26th. Okay, the fabricated video comes from the same Russian disinformation network that Microsoft uncovered in early June. So states, like you said, state-sponsored, Russia, China, and Russia is pulling it all out right now.
Yeah. I think I don't know if the article states specifically, but I think the objective here is really to tarnish the image of France in delivering, hosting the Olympics, because Russia is not allowed, because of this doping scandal, Russia is not allowed to send athletes. The Russians that are going there are going under another banner. They're not representing the country of Russia. So I think because of this, Russia just wants to sort of, they want to really hurt as much as possible the success, the image of France in delivering these Olympic Games.
It's more than doping. Russian athletes have been banned from participating in the games under their own flag because the country's 2022 full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
That's all.
The Russian government has a long history of operations related to the Olympic Games and said the ban is likely part of the motivation behind these operations. So, it's kind of like Kim Jong-un, or whatever his name is, sending bags of poop to South Korea and like a child, and Vladimir Putin like a child with the disinformation campaigns. Like they're literally acting like 5-year-olds and exhibiting 5-year-old whiny kick and scream behavior.
But apparently, this is the scary thing. Some of the stuff to us might seem like this is crazy, right? Who's going to believe this? This is crazy. And this is obvious that what they're trying to do and why they're doing it. But they wouldn't be, think about it. This has been going on since the 1930s. If it wasn't successful, they wouldn't have invested so much money and time and resources into orchestrating and running these campaigns. It works.
It absolutely works. So here, 10 ways to spot disinformation on social media. Okay. So fake news, as we know, is not news. What is fake news? We know what it is. So categories of fake news include clickbait, like basic clickbait. This uses exaggerated, questionable, misleading headlines, propaganda, which is like the main purpose for governments that it spreads information, rumors, or ideas to harm an institution, country, group of people, or individual. Right? You mentioned that a couple times already. Typically for political gain. Imposter content. This impersonates general news sites to contain made-up stories to deceive readers. Right, yep. Just like what Russia's doing in regards to posing as the CIA. Right. Bias, slanted news. This attracts readers to confirm their own biases and beliefs. We see that all the time. Satire. This creates fake news stories for parody entertainment. That's, satire is fun, but sometimes that can spread as being real. State-sponsored news. This operates under government control to create the spread of disinformation to residents or foreigners. And of course, misleading headlines. These are stories that may not be completely false, but are distorted with misleading headlines and small snippets displayed in news feeds. Fake news is harmful because it can create misunderstanding and confusion on important issues. Spreading false information can intensify social conflict, divide and conquer, and stir up controversy. These stories can also cause mistrust.
Mm-hmm.
It's exhausting.
Well, one of those that you mentioned, but you kind of went past it quickly, and maybe a lot of the listeners might not quite understand how this has to do with this information. But the clickbait, right? The purpose of the clickbait is to get people to click on the link, because every time they click, someone's getting money for that click that was done, right? So you got to encourage somebody to click on is because you got to show some picture that draws the attention, or some headliner that's going to want that person to go to the next page and see what is this all about. And most of it is just pure BS. Although one thing that's interesting is that there's almost, regardless of the level of sophistication or unsophistication of fake news, is that there's usually some kernels of truth to the information. Let's say you have 20% that's true and 80% that's totally bogus. But we tend to believe, if we see some kernels of truth in an article, we say, yeah, I heard that, I know that. So people assume everything else is true because they see those kernels of truth that are in that particular storyline.
Yeah. So Peter, wrapping up, what do you got going on? Where are you going to be? What do you want to promote?
Well, I just came back from Casper, Wyoming. Have you ever been to Wyoming?
A bunch of times, actually. Yeah.
Really? No, I had a great pleasure there. I was out there at Casper College. Actually, I gave 3 different presentations out there. And I went to a rodeo, and they had axe throwing, and it was a great time. Time. And now I'm going to go into maybe a more serious place. Well, not that Casper is not serious. I'm going to Vegas, and I'm going to attend a very, very big conference. I think that I am a certified fraud examiner, and so I'm very involved with the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. Every year they have a global conference, and I usually speak at each of those global conferences, as well as to numerous chapters. So I'm doing that over the next few days. What about you, Robert?
Hold on, wait a minute. And books?
Oh, can't forget about those, right? Confessions of a CIA Spy. Actually, it was very nice. The college out there, they bought a whole bunch of both of these books, and to provide to everybody that attended at the conference. So that was great. Confessions of a CIA Spy, The Art of Human Hacking, and Why Are You Messing with Me? Senior Survival Guide for Privacy, Fraud, and Security. And they're available on Amazon. And
your web address, URL?
Counterintelligence Institute, counterintelligence-institute.com. And for more information, please go there directly or to my LinkedIn page.
Happy. And y'all can see. Go ahead,
Pete. A few more openings here. If anybody's interested in for Robert as well, you're looking for speakers, especially as we get closer to October to talk about cybersecurity. Mention our names to people in your organizations as potential speakers. Robert and I love to do this, whether it's in person or virtual.
Yeah. And y'all can see me at protectnowllc.com. Again, that's protectnowllc.com. Further, a couple things. I've got 11,500 or so people who follow my newsletter on LinkedIn, Peter.
Fantastic.
Which I'm pretty proud about. And the last article I wrote was AI sextortion, the crime affecting every business and everyone in so many ways. AI sextortion is a big deal. How and why fun AI-generated spam on social media will manipulate the 2024 election. And a fun title, Artificial Intelligence and Organized Crime Sitting in a Tree, KISSING. So I'm writing a lot about AI and fraud and scams these days. Check out CSI, Cyber Social Identity newsletter on my LinkedIn. Just connect with me and it's easy to find. And like my mom used to say to me as a kid, believe nothing of what you hear and half of what you see. These days, man, believe nothing of what you hear and nothing of what you see. You gotta be careful out there. Peter, last words.
Last words, be careful what you trust.
Yeah, that's it, buddy. Awesome, man. Y'all, thank you so much. You be cool out there. Stay cool. Be good, behave, be careful. Talk to you soon.